Great. Okay. So before we start, I'd just like to go on to what you can expect from this morning's webinar and what we're going to be talking about. The webinar should take about 40 to 45 minutes. If you do have any questions, I'm not good enough to be able to answer questions while I'm doing this webinar. I can't multitask like that, so please do feel free to get in touch afterwards or just send me an email or give us a call. Thank you. So I just wanted to touch really on why it's important how we generate those quality conversations, B2B, B2C, product or service, and what those definitions are. I'd also just like to touch back on the whole marketing, about why marketing is so important in terms of how you're promoting your business to enable you to have those quality conversations. I've got a little thing here for saying frightening statistics, because the bottom line is, if your business isn't in front of lots of people all the time, the reality is your opportunity to have those conversations is dramatically reduced. And so I've got something interesting to show you on that. I'd also just like to talk about messaging, which anybody who knows me well knows this is my high horse in terms of content being king, about being interesting in your business. I'd also just like to introduce then one of our clients, Farscape, a learning and development business, about their experiences of working with us in terms of how together we are generating the opportunities that they need to push their business forward. And then also about telemarketing. We work with a telemarketing company, and I'd like to just share that experience with you about, because I come to telemarketing with a degree of skepticism, and I'd like to share those thoughts with you. I'd like to just talk a little bit about how we do things here at Essentia Mail, where email marketing fits in, and then the takeaways. I think I'd like to offer to you people on the webinar this morning to step back and look at what you're doing, look at your online, look at how you look as a business, your website and so on, and maybe you're not doing as much as you could to make yourself stand out and be noticed as an interesting business to do business with. So those are, and then there are also a bunch of takeaways that I can email to you if you're interested, which I've found useful, and things that are just of interest to me really in the marketplace. So the quality conversation, and the idea came from a conversation I had with this ex-client. So Provenance Wine Investment, they sell wine for investment, looking for people who are spending £5,000 a month on wine. So it's a real specialist market. We stopped working for this company a couple of years ago because the managing director sold the business. And what was interesting for me is he asked me about, Nick, what's different in your business? How have you developed? And I think what struck me was that we tend now to deal with mainly business to business, which is largely the companies that are on the webinar this morning. And we deal with high value consultative sales. So those are products and services that are expensive, where a conversation is necessary. It isn't like buying a commodity. And I think really that's why I wanted to talk really just to define the whole thing around B2B, B2C, product or service, and what those definitions, because generally speaking, we're talking about high value consultative sales here, probably in the B2B market, and why it's important. And really that's kind of the central plank of what I'd like to talk with you about today. So when you're buying a product, a commodity, branded like a Nike pair of trainers, you expect to pay top money for it. I was pretty astounded to see 182 quid reduced from whatever it was. And to buy a product like that is pretty simple. A commodity, I know it's going to be well made. I know that I'm going to pay top dollar for it, and I'm going to get it delivered to my door. I also know that I can send it back if I don't like it because it comes mail order. Alternatively, I can buy a less well-known brand. I can buy an Asda trainer that looks grey and bright and colourful, and it costs 15 quid. Frankly, ridiculous how that can be so little. But the purchasing decision, my ability to make a decision on whether I'm going to buy that or not, is really pretty simple. And I think that's a very important thing to understand, because before you can have a quality conversation with you, with a potential client, that client is going to have a look at your business. They're going to look at you online. They're going to look at you maybe on LinkedIn. They're going to assess, do I want to speak to this company? And what are the reasons and the drivers before I'm going to make that conversation? So buying the trainers is an easy thing. The price needs to be right. I expect to pay more for a branded product. I need to know the delivery, as in, can I get it tomorrow on my Amazon Prime, or am I going to get it in 3 to 4 days? And I need to know a bit about the reputation, a crucial element here about reputation, because with a branded product such as the Nike trainers or the Asda trainers, I kind of know where I am, and if I don't like it, if I buy it on a credit card, I can get the money back. It's a pretty simple decision to make. But selling the services and products that we do within the high value consultative sale, it's more difficult, because you're asking, before you have that opportunity, you're asking the recipient, the person that doesn't know your business, to take a leap of faith. So what do you need to be? How do you need to look online? How do you need to be as a business to prove your capability? To define the nature of your service or product, as in, what do you actually do? How are you going to prove reputation, skills, ability, and ability in a target marketplace? If you're selling a product to the food and beverage market or to a leisure market, to pubs and clubs, restaurants, you need to prove that you're good in that area. How do you prove price? We don't put prices on our websites. Most of us don't, unless we're selling an online product, a chair or some Nike trainers or whatever it might be. It's a really important area to remember that a number of these things are very difficult to prove. Generally speaking, it's your clients who are the best advocates of what you do. The effectiveness or suitability of your product. If you live in anywhere near the marketing place, people want an ROI. They want to know, okay, so Nick, we're going to spend this money with you. When do we get our money back? How are you going to help on that basis? How are you going to give that insight so that somebody takes that leap and says, yeah, I'd like to speak with you. I'm interested in what you do. Delivery, both physical and also in terms of maybe delivering a course, is also another really important point, as in, how are you going to prove that it is about your reputation and it is about building that reassurance. And those are some of the most important things. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a it's not a U-turn, I'm just going to touch on another area really, which is something that I'm very interested in. Because I said at the beginning, you need to be in front of a lot of people. If you sit and wait for the business to come in and that opportunity or that client that might refer you, you can wait a long time. And it seems, with my discussions with lots of companies, we talk to lots of companies every day, what people are looking for are more opportunities. And they go out of their way using the marketing tools at their disposal, whether it be email marketing or whether it's the website or whether it's SEO or paid advertising, social media. The whole thing about creating the opportunities comes from your exposure and your exposure in your target market. Now, this will be familiar to you, a Google page. It's an insight from the world of PPC in terms of paid advertising. So type in marketing agency into Google. Google now delivers 4 ads up on the up here rather than the 3 that they did, and then the ads down this side here. And I think they're doing that because my feeling is they're doing that because it works better online. It works better on mobile devices. That's my feeling. I don't know that for a fact. If somebody knows that, maybe they should be telling me that. So each time you search for, and forgive me if you know this, but each time you search for a product or a service, marketing agency, training company, research company, whatever it might be, Google delivers these ads up here, and they are called impressions. So from that point, the metrics go like this. Every time somebody searches for a training company or a ball bearing company, I see Craig is with us today, whatever they may be searching for, 1 or 2% of your potential customers will click on your ad. That in PPC land, or PPC, world of PPC, is called CTR, click-through rate. Of that 1 to 2%, only 2% are going to engage with your business and think, yeah, I quite like this company. And perhaps 14% of those 1 or 2% are going to actually buy from you. So if you want to achieve 1 sale, how many times do you need to be in front of somebody? And it's a pretty frightening figure. It's 175,000. Now, forgive me, this is a broad brush approach, but in the world of PPC and search, AdWords, paid Google paid search AdWords, you need to think about being in front of somebody 175,000 times before they're even going to engage with you. So the message here is to the clients that come to us and say, Nick, we've got a database. Can we try 500 people? No, it's not enough. The key point here is that you need to be in front of more people all the time on a regular basis. You'll notice here that how many tweets, that we've done a blog on this, which is on our website. It's worth a read. It's just some interesting stats really. So from that place, you clearly need to look good wherever you are so that people are buying from you. This place here about content. Content is king. Now, for most of us here today, our opportunities to market our business include websites, social media, SEO, Google AdWords, email marketing, that's what we do, outbound sales calling, we do that too. We don't provide the service, but we do outbound sales calling ourselves. Exhibitions, we do the odd exhibition, and other forms of advertising. Now, this isn't a definitive list of marketing channels by any stretch, but it is broadly the areas that most of us have some activity in terms of marketing channels. And the important thing here is to recognize that these are our opportunities to put our service or our products in front of our potential customers. And in doing that, you've got to do it in a way, going back to that point that we were talking about before, you need to build, working up from the bottom, you need to build reassurance, and you need to show that you have credibility in this marketplace. And it is very reassuring. We had yesterday a company in Yorkshire phoning us up. My question to them, where did you find us? We found you on Google. It's a really good place when that happens. And it is the conversation that nearly every company have around their own businesses. How good is their website? And I'll come on to this in terms of how things should work or how things could work better on your website. But the key fact here is that our ability to in terms of our concentration spans is now shorter than it probably ever has been. And as the youngsters, the millennials, come into this world, they don't wait long before they jump off and go somewhere else. So that whole thing in terms of what you do, defining your product, defining your service in such a way as your target market recognize, yeah, I like these people. They seem to do what we want from them. And I'll pick up on a little pointer on reputation. Reputation is only relevant in the market that you are targeting. So landing pages in terms of business verticals is crucial here in terms of gaining the reassurance necessary for somebody to get to say, yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with that company. Because otherwise, those people that are doing it better than you, they're going to be having those conversations. Now, in the world in which we live in email marketing. It's what we do here every day. It's our day job. But we're also very interested in clients' websites because the emails that we send out link to client websites or other digital assets. So that might be webinars. Yes, it may be webinars. It may be case studies. It may be fact sheets. It may be white papers. It's about sharing knowledge, about demonstrating our clients' skills to their potential target market. And because we send a lot of traffic to websites, we sometimes get accused, hey, this isn't working. But hang on, it's the website that's got to do that work in terms of reassurance. And it's only then, once people have that reassurance, that they stand an opportunity to have a conversation, about how that company might be able to be helped. So, where are we? Here's an example of a terrible email I got a few weeks ago, actually in April. So I don't know who Averick Direct are, and I'm not really fussed about. You can read this yourselves. You know what? You can see why this is a terrible email. As in, we're very pleased to announce that Brendan Porter will join. I don't know the company. I really, frankly, don't give a stuff. It's a waste of an opportunity. And what perhaps offends me the most, although it was only pointed out to me, is, hey, look, they haven't even spelt some of the words correctly in the subject line. So The opportunities are there, but the content is absolutely key in terms of generating the kinds of responses and the reputation that you want, because ultimately you want your company to be shown in the best possible light so that your potential customer is going to have a conversation with you. If it's a website, you need to really be sharp about the proposition, because websites are almost a fleeting medium. If the person, in marketing term really, for there isn't much time here. And this website, which I've had here for a few months now, they've changed this slightly. 1-2-Create beauty, 1 pixel at a time. What do they do? Well, they're a website company, but there's no proposition. There's no reason why I should engage with that company. So content, clearly a very important point here. And it's about a journey, and it comes back to that consultative sale. Nobody is going to buy from a lot of companies who offer expensive services and products instantly. It isn't about buying a pair of Nike trainers. It isn't about buying some batteries or some Rima paper or whatever we're buying here. We need to recognize the journey is a longer and more of a consultative conversation. You need to introduce your business. You need to engage with the people that you're talking with within the business vertical that you're communicating with. You need to maintain, reassure. You need to tempt them with something. You need to sell to them. Selling's a bit of a dirty word, and I'm really aware of that. But fundamentally, what we're talking about is selling our services and products. My mantra is that you should never have to sell, because people will buy your expertise. And if people like what you do and they trust what you do, the bottom line is they're going to feel, yep, I like these guys. I'm happy to have a conversation. So we need to talk about what is good content. Well, the first thing to do is around the STP, segment target position. It's really important to identify who you're communicating with, the sizes of those businesses, to also then target in terms of evaluating the potential and commercial attractiveness of each segment, and then position your product for that particular marketplace. Now, a good example of that, and something that I think is pretty interesting, is that if you're promoting to the legal profession and maybe accountants, you know they work differently to other companies because they have fee earners, and you need to respect the fact that they have fee earners. They're also not usually top-down pointy organizations because they have a lot of partners. And generally speaking, the partners will decide on buying a new service at the partners meeting. Another interesting sector are the charity sector. Now, charities are no different from any of the other businesses we're talking about, in as much as they employ people, they sack people, they have people go on maternity leave, they have heating, they have insurance, they have premises. So in many ways, they're the same as any other business, yet charities will always say, we haven't got any money, we've got a funding gap. You know, it's no different from any other business, but the point is, the language needs to be pertinent and relevant to them. So unless you get those things right, and it's a lot of different things, the reality is you're going to struggle to have those conversations because you haven't built up that initial bit of rapport, an initial bit of reassurance that you need to give to potential clients, potential prospects, really. So it's only when you get those things in a good place and you're really confident with the way you look as a business that you can start to have those quality conversations. So I'd like to introduce Emma Webb, who's the marketing manager at Farscape. They're one of our clients. Emma, are you there?
Hello, yeah.
Emma. Good
Can you
morning,
hear me?
Emma.
Hiya.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. So Emma's one of our clients, and we've worked for Farscape for a few years now. Emma, tell us a little bit about what you do at Farscape.
Well, firstly, Farscape Development are a people development consultancy. So we run development programs for individuals, teams, organisations, often very large organisations, and all the work that we do for other people is tailored. So we don't have anything that is productized or, you know, something that is easily sellable. So it comes into that realm of the charity sector that Nick was talking about, where you need interesting, informative information to send to people.
So, Emma, tell us a bit about the the output from you working with us at Essential, what happens? I mean, do you get inbound calls? Do you get emails to you? How does it work for you in terms of the work we do for you?
So yes, so we send emails out on a monthly basis to all of our different segments or groups of people that we have in our database, and we will get inbound phone calls from those people occasionally, or we'll get inbound replies, direct replies from the emails that we send out.
And one of the challenges that I know that we suffer's the wrong word. One of the challenges that we have is, as you say, you don't have a product that is £200 or £5,000, and so in the world of training, as I refer to it in a nice way, is it's quite a woolly area, as in terms of selling a product that you can't easily define. I know you also get a lot of people clicking on the digital assets that we put in front of them in the emails we write. So I think we do kind of case studies, and you do white papers and so on. So tell me a bit of challenges with regards to the people that are clicking that you know have come to your website to look at these assets.
Yes, so we get around 300 click-throughs on average a month, which is a huge amount, and it's great that we have that many people clicking through and looking at our information, but then the challenge is for us to follow all of those people up. That becomes a huge task in itself.
One of the things that one of the expressions I always use is that when people click on a link in an email that was sent out on behalf of Farscape, they're coming and visiting Farscape's shop. Now, I don't mean that in the sense of an online shop, but they're coming and having a look at your business, and specifically they may be coming and having a look at a white paper or an insight or some kind of document that's of interest to them. And it does seem to be the perennial challenge is these people are coming along and having a look. You know who they are, you know their phone numbers, and then the challenge is then phoning up and really just saying, can I help you? Because these people are all busy people, and we know that some people will come repeatedly every month and have a look at some content that's been delivered, that we've delivered on Farscape's behalf. So I think you're about to try doing a bit of telemarketing. Is that right, Emma?
Yes, yes. So we can start those conversations. Yes, that's right.
Okay. So this is a classic case where we're generating visitors who potentially could become recipients of these elusive quality conversations, and it is from those conversations that whole cycle starts, because I think your sales cycle, if you don't mind me saying, is probably pretty long, especially dealing with corporates.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's very long.
I mean, I think typically it can be months, years, however long. I think some people you've spoken to.
6 months to a year, 2 years sometimes. It can take a long time.
So this is a classic case of then staying in touch with those people and loving them, if you like, until such time as they're prepared on their terms, because it's always on their terms, isn't it? It's never on your terms.
Oh yes, definitely.
Emma, that's been really helpful. Thank you very much for that little insight.
It's okay, thank you.
Thanks. So thanks to Emma from Farscape. So here's a thought. When you're doing any marketing, the whole thing around targeting is absolutely central to delivering good results and an ROI, if you like, on your marketing spend. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about this client, Provenance Wines. So, question: if you went out into the street and asked a whole bunch of people, I've got a little picture here of lots of people in the street, and you went up to these people and said, are you interested in investing in fine wines from about £5,000 a month? My gut feeling is you get a few people are sort of going to say to you, well, you're having a laugh. It absolutely isn't of any interest to them at all. And that scattergun approach of trying to sell a product to somebody who you don't know, and I had a classic, we had a classic yesterday, inbound sale from the telephone company, as in, we'd like to talk to you about your telephone bill, and it's like, oh, that's so off-putting and immediate hostility. However, if you talk to these people who are interested in wine, investing in wine, what kind of difference would it make? How many more opportunities for the quality conversation would you have if you could actually speak to people who were interested in the products and the services that you have? And this is where the whole telemarketing conundrum, not sure if that's a fair word, I'm sure Tom from PDT wouldn't agree with me, but for us it is a conundrum, because clearly a rigorous follow-up creates those opportunities. Calling the right people who are interested in what you're selling and your services, really important. And you need to be tenacious. Now, I'm going to see a potential client next week in Swansea. And that was a click-through from an email that we sent out a couple of months ago. I phoned this guy 12 times. I emailed him a couple of times just to let him know that I'd left a message for him. And rather than him being pissed off and saying, Nick, you're hassling me, he was really pleased that I had persevered. And I would say pretty much all the time, the responses that we get from the work that we do, because, hey, we do this as well, we're looking for new business, is that we're interested, is that people are interested. This guy was very interested, and I've got a presentation there next week, so that's a really positive thing. So I'd like to introduce Tom from PDT, who we work with. They're clients of ours, and they do work for us, to tell us a little bit more about how that quality conversation can come from, especially from when you know the people that you're talking to are interested in the product or service. Tom, are you there? Tom, can you hear me? I don't think Tom is there. I can see that Tom's there, but I can't hear Tom, and so I imagine you guys can't hear him either. Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit about how things have worked with PDT for us. We've spoken to lots of telemarketing companies over the years, and the one thing that I've always been suspicious of, especially with a high-value consultative sale, is that I'm not interested in how many appointments that a telemarketing company can make for me. My issue is how many of those are going to be worth my effort in having a conversation. And what PDT said to me when I first spoke to them was that to get a quality conversation, as in one that's going to turn into a piece of business, we need to make conversations. Oh, Tom is here now. I'm just going to finish. Tom, just hang on one sec.
Hi, sorry about that.
What PDT said to me was that it would take 17 and a half hours of calling to get one quality conversation that's likely to turn into business, and that really impressed me. And since then, we've been working with PDT, and I introduced Tom, who had a little technical issue, I imagine. Tom, tell us a bit about your experiences of working with us, and specifically about having the right people to talk to on the calls that you make.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nick. Yes, so really, with obviously our telemarketing approach, so we deal with bespoke telemarketing campaigns and building those relationships and really developing qualified opportunities. So for us, using SentinelMail and email campaigns is really key and core to what we're doing. Having those targeted campaigns whereby we're sending a broadcast out to a target list, and the data and the responses we get back via SentinelMail that gives us a number of click-throughs and opportunities that we can be following up. We get to see who's actually been engaging with various areas of our business, the blogs or the content that we've actually been putting out. And what's really interesting from that is we can actually pick up the phone. We know who is engaging within a company, and I think, as you probably already said, Nick, that they're not always the core decision maker, that final decision maker, but they're certainly an influencer within the business. And for us, that's really pertinent. So it means that actually we're able to get through. We can speak to someone that's actually engaging and actually interested in a various area, and that actually gives us that I suppose a fast track into those opportunities. And quite clearly, as you said, our normal sort of our ratio is that we look at sort of 17 and a half hours of telemarketing to generate a qualified opportunity. So not just sort of a cold, they've looked and we're going to pick up the phone to them. Actually, where we actually would generate a warm. So, and we would normally say that takes at least sort of 7 to 8 touch points as well. So that email is another touch point and really sort of fast tracks us on that engagement.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting to hear. Tom, that's been really helpful. And just to say, if anybody has any, thank you very much, Tom. If anybody has any wants introductions to the companies that are speaking today, then please just ask me afterwards. I'd be very happy to make that. So it is about that honesty thing, and not just about ticking boxes. We've made 10 appointments for you today, because that is absolutely not what you want. So moving on then, thanks Tom. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the whole content thing, because I think this is absolutely key to creating those points of interest. And messaging pretty much is my high horse. And the first thing, of course, is that segmentation thing about STP, about segmenting your target market, targeting it accurately, and then positioning it. And that has to work online for your businesses, so that if you're dealing with a business vertical, and most of us do deal with different business verticals, that you need to reflect in the business vertical landing page, if you like. It isn't about your company. It never is about your company until the reassurance bit comes in at the end. It's about what you can do for me. Marketing isn't about you. It's about what you can provide for somebody. And the best examples of that, I'll show you in a sec. So this is pretty much talking about kind of emailing here. So it's never about your company. It's just like that Averick, that email I showed you about a new member of staff. It's largely not of any interest. We don't use pictures in emails, business to business, because you know that any emails that you're sending out, that you receive as the recipients and consumers, any emails business to business with lots of pictures, images, you know somebody's about to sell you something. And people that persist in emailing you every week, every day even, they're shouting at you. And if you don't know a company, sending them a newsletter also isn't interesting, because it's all about you. Likewise, emails that we send out, never from a marketing department. Marketing is about sales. So whatever you're doing online, however you look as a business, things need to work quickly. Now, a great example of that is this poster, which is probably, it's got to be 5 years old now, I reckon. And the key point about this is this attract, but I wear glasses, I'm a specky, so it's targeted well for me. It's got a picture of a boy and a girl, one wearing glasses. It's got a dead simple proposition on it, 2 for 1 from 69 quid. And then it's got Specsavers. They've dropped the should have gone to Specsavers line now. Now, Specsavers are fortunate to have a nice high quality national brand in the high street, and we all know about them. But the bottom line is the messaging is really simple, and it ascribes to this age-old acronym. I'm sorry if people have seen this before and are bored with it, but it is absolutely true today, as it has been pretty much always in marketing. You have to have people's attention. And that isn't about saying we're different, because it amazes me how many companies claim that they're different, often in the digital marketing space, creative agencies. We're different. Even some professional services, we're different. They're not actually different at all. You need to attract somebody's attention, and you need to provide them with something that's of interest. So telling them that you care, and that you care about your clients, and you listen to your clients, sold hat, I kind of expect that anyway. You need to interest them, you need to create some desire, and you need to give them a call to action, something that they can do. For Specsavers, it's dead easy because we know they're a high street brand. For us, it's more difficult, as in, what is that point of action? The action leads towards the journey that is the consultative conversation, the quality conversation. The other, of course, is you need to sell people or promote things that are of interest. Now, I like Alan Sugar. I have a huge amount of respect for him, but back in, I don't know, year 2000 or whatever it was, he promoted the Amstrad emailer. Some of you may remember it. The youngsters won't. And this was a little gadget that was either sat next to your telephone or became your telephone, where you could go to the hall table and you could send an email to whoever wanted to receive an email. And it was a piece of old technology, and it was very, very quickly superseded by what we do now. And right now, if I tried to sell that to you, or anybody tried to sell that to you, they'd laugh in your face. So just think about your products and services and their relevance. You may want to sell it because you're passionate about it, but the reality is there a market for it? And the things that sell the best are the things that people want to buy. So here's a question for you. Whenever and whatever your services and products, ask yourself a question. What do I need to put in front of a potential customer so they react by saying, yes, I want one of those? Now, I know that's a simplistic way of looking at it, but the reality is that is the question that you need to ask. I asked that question of ourselves in terms of us being an email marketing company. What do we need to put in front of people so they go, yeah, I want to buy some email marketing from you guys at Essentia Mail? And what's interesting is that when we're at an exhibition, I talk to our people who are going to talk to all the people that are coming along and having a look at us at our stand. And it says, try and sell your service or product without saying what you do. Now, I think that's a classic case with a training product because it's the outcome we buy. For us, in terms of email marketing, it's not what we do that we press send and send 5 million emails a month, which is about what we do. What the point is, what we're doing is we're creating the opportunity for a quality conversation. So I challenge you in anything you're doing in terms of your communication style, if you can sell what you do by the outcome, because it's the outcome that people are buying. So in a sense, that's the kind of end of my lecture, but I just want to share some other thoughts with you. And here's a really nice, this is from a guy I used to know at a creative agency in London, called St. Nick's. This is a really helpful little how to win with words. I'll send it to you, no problem. There are 12 of these. It's a really good little aid memoir. I also just want to share with you a Mercedes ad. And I have no particular allegiance to Mercedes or whatever, but I just really love this bit of copy because this is about selling a product, just doing it differently, buying a belief, and it's just worth a little read and it make you think maybe you could actually word what you're doing or what your proposition is slightly differently. I'd also just like to share this email, which was actually a Farscape email from earlier this year. And this was an email targeted at the legal profession. So it talked about fee earners. Can top fee earners be good leaders too? And the email, as you can see at the bottom, can your top talent rise through the ranks and become good leaders as well as top performers as well? And what do Farscape want? They want the opportunity for those quality conversations, just like any other company selling an expensive product would do. I'm interested in talking to you further. I'm also just going to show you this little test that we did, 2 emails looking very different, one an HTML email, the other a text only, same subject line for a technology company. Interesting subject line, James Bond and his models. When you go and see the next James Bond film, you'll be expecting the very best models. And if you remember the Ice Palace and the Antonov cargo plane in Die Another Day, you'll remember how good those models were. So an element of humor, some touch points in terms of 4 links, a link to the company and a link to a blog as well. And the results of this, which were compelling in their own right, is that we split the database 50-50 in half. We generated 160 click-throughs. 136 of those came from the text only. 41 came from, I'll just scribble that out really, 41 came from the picture email. You have to remember, if you're running an exhibition stand, your exhibition stand has got to look absolutely amazing. If you're doing email marketing, you need to be subtle and careful about how you deliver messaging. And in any, going back to that slide at the beginning about marketing channels, you need to be appropriate in the way that you communicate with people. And that's a really important point, because otherwise you run the risk of putting people off. With email marketing, it's an interesting point here. It's a disruptive medium, as in you're taking up time of people who haven't asked. So classic case of being pertinent, appropriate, give information, be humble, something that's of interest. And I would say that in every marketing channel, those things almost apply. Never be presumptuous and overly arrogant about what you're offering, because ultimately you have to substantiate it, and ultimately it's your clients that will become your best advocates. I touched on the whole landing page thing, and this is a classic case here of a landing page. This is a technology company selling scanning software for invoice processing, and land them where it's relevant. If you are a Sage, Dynamics 0 or other accounts package user, we would land them on a page that's relevant to them. There's an interesting tool from our friends from a PPC agency about a landing page scorecard, and again I can send this to you. This is just 3 little points here. Do have a look at this. It isn't relevant to all companies. All the sections aren't relevant to all the companies, but it is a real good little tick process to look at parts of how you look online, and hopefully that would be of help to you as well. Finally, a few points to remember. Make it easy for your visitor to understand what you're offering, as in you have to define your product in such a way as they say, yes, I'm interested in that. Have a great website with lots of relevant landing pages, and where you can through most social media avenues, channels, you can land people where it's relevant to them. You need to demonstrate customer advocacy. It is no good you saying we're great at what we do. You need to prove it. Video much more effective than written testament. So don't be lazy. One size doesn't fit all. Have a look at your content and apply the so what test. And if it is a bit of a we care for our customers, then it is a bit of a so what, and you have another look. You need to have a rigorous process to follow up visitors to your metaphorical shop, and be tenacious. If you have to call 12 times, you have to call 12 times. And if you're not going to do it because you haven't got the time or you don't like doing it, I would suggest that, I should have asked Tom this, that a lot of people don't like making those calls, then outsource it, but be rigorous about how you're going to brief your telemarketing or your outbound calling. It's absolutely essential that you get quality and not we've got 10 appointments for you. That's no good to anybody. And content is king, and good copy is difficult to write. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you're struggling on that side of things in terms of articulating where your value really lies, then outsource it. Outsource it to somebody you trust. And finally, don't get hung up on the metrics, because sometimes you can look at your Google Analytics and say, we're getting loads of visitors to the site. But the reality is, if you're not getting the quality engagement, the quality conversations you need to look at why you're not getting them. So thank you very much for listening this morning. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it challenges you in a sense in terms of what you're doing now and what you could be doing in the future. I think you know what we do. If you'd like introductions to PDT, that's no problem. Fastscape, brilliant company. If that's the space you're in, very happy to make an introduction there as well. If you'd like any of the assets that I've shared with you, such as this document here and the copy document, I'll be very happy to send it to you. Just send us a quick email, and I'd be very happy to have a conversation. If you want to phone us up and have a chat, that's absolutely fine too. So thank you very much for listening this morning.